Hello and welcome to another edition of Fully Charged. Now, Sam Clark, who I talked to in this episode, has been driving electric cars for longer than I have. He knows more about them than 99.9% of the population. He, about 10 or 11 years ago, he set up a company in London called Newt Cargo, which was a 100% electrically powered delivery company, starting out with cargo bikes, but very soon moving on to electric vans, of which they have a huge fleet now. It's really interesting to find out how that operation runs, how they are using vehicle-to-grid now, how that's developing. At the end of this, you'll discover that Sam has, in fact, moved on from Newt Cargo. The company is still going and doing really well, but he's moved on. He is now working with GridServe, who are the amazing company behind the huge charging hubs, the solar-powered, battery-powered charging hubs that are being built all over the country. So a really interesting episode. Really amazing guy. This is Sam Clark, and this is Fully Charged. So Sam, I'm going to have to ask you to forgive me. You don't have to. But how many times have you appeared on Fully Charged? I can remember definitely once at Millbrook.
Well, this will be the third time, actually. So, yeah.
Sorry. When did Newt start? I mean, long time ago.
2009 was when it started trading.
Wow. Wow.
But yeah, we obviously founded the business a year before that. So,
right.
So yeah, it's knocking on 12 years old, which is just extraordinary. And my journey started before that. So I was in China a lot, using and trialing electric motorbikes and scooters, which is how I got into EVs in the first place. So
wow,
it wasn't.
Were you working there?
No, well, kind of. I was looking for new opportunities, and I was as a sort of entrepreneurial type of bloke. I was looking for new ideas, and the one that really struck me, quite literally nearly struck me, because I crossed the road looking the wrong way like a stupid tourist, and an electric scooter went flying past me and nearly knocked me over. I just started seeing all these electric vehicles and scooters, particularly in China back in early 2000s probably. So there were millions of people using electric motorbikes and scooters in China 15 more years ago. So for me, it was like, well, that's got to be something. If huge conurbations in China are using this as a serious means of moving around efficiently and cheaply, then there's something in it, And the delivery company was an export of that, really, in terms of diversifying into a market where I thought there might be a niche that we can exploit here.
I mean, because your early deliveries were done on cargo bikes than vans, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Electric delivery company, we did on site on cargo cycles and bikes because they were cheap. We had some good experience, and you could fix them easily, and we could deliver a reasonable amount of volume in the early years. But even that became just too small and too difficult to scale, so we had to move away from cargo cycles. And I think they still have their place in the world, but they're not the panacea or the silver bullet, whatever analogy you want to use, at all. I mean, the small electric van is still king, in my humble opinion, in the urban area, because it's a good balance between, well, something that's safe, waterproof, can carry a lot of weight, a lot of volume, and deliver in an urban area.
Because I mean, I remember talking to you about that, because that was the thing that struck me when you told me how many vehicles you were running. Because there's actually 4 electric cars here at the moment, but we're not using any of them. But one of them is a press car. But even arranging to charge those, me and my wife, or if my daughter's home, she drives one of them. There's some management on, it's only me.
Yeah.
Gets obsessed with it. Oh, I've got one at 80% or one at 25%. I think I'll just top that baby. But it's pretty easy. It's not that stressful to keep 3 cars charged. But I don't know, when you've got dozens of vans, I remember because there was a time when they were all on sort of 3-pin plugs and on extension leads and all that stuff, which is extraordinary, isn't it?
About 50 of them. So So you take your 3 or 4 vehicles outside, and then you multiply that by 10 or 12 fold on 3-pin sockets with a limited amount of power coming in. But everyone's got to start somewhere, which is, I think, the same line I used last time you interviewed me. But we worked it out with little clock timers and just shared the power and made it work. And that's right. That's how it began.
But then so charging. Very exciting area, because that was the thing. I met someone from GridServe at a conference in Oxford, and of course I can't remember who they are. or how many times I interviewed them on Fully Charged. No, they've never been on Fully Charged. I've really wanted to do something about it, but it was kind of waiting until there's a physical thing we can go and see. But that is, so I've become a bit obsessed with that. So the idea of somewhere on a journey where you can, when you're driving on a longer journey and you go, oh, there's a rapid charger hub just up the road, and you pull in and there's loads of chargers and they're under a canopy and there's loos, a cafe, da-da-da. You tell us what's going to be happening. I'm so excited about GridServe.
£1 billion scheme to increase the number of electric car charging points in the country is being launched in Essex. Braintree is getting the first in the new network of electric forecourts. More than 100 are being built across the country. Each forecourt will be able to charge up to 24 vehicles at the same time. Building work in Braintree is starting today and it should be finished by the summer.
We've got to decarbonise the economy within 30 years. We've got to have, or there will be a ban on petrol and diesel and hybrid vehicles in less than 15 years' time. So we're very much trying to build an infrastructure that is going to be able to facilitate what is inevitably going to be a significant uplift in the number of electric vehicles.
We should explain that you're leaving Newt to go and work at GridServe, which is I'm so thrilled.
I couldn't resist any foot longer, to be honest. I mean, running an fully electric delivery company for 10 years is one thing, but I've been an EV commuter for 15 years. So I have been through every conceivable challenge and failure of every charge post pretty much everywhere. And I've moaned about it quite a lot as well over the years. And then when I started, I mean, Toddington Harper, the CEO of GridServe, I've known for best part of 17 years anyway. He started at a similar time to me. And he has this amazing ability to come up with these ideas and bring them to fruition. And the concept of having an electric forecourt akin to a service station or petrol station with your canopies and your solar arrays and your battery storage and a lot of energy that can power a lot of vehicles at the same time, so there won't be any waiting times and you will be able to charge very, very quickly whilst getting your coffee and having a sandwich if you so wish. Even seeing which next vehicle you might like to lease. You know, all of these things make it far more than just, as you say, turning up to a charger somewhere in a car park in a hotel or something and hoping that it's going to work, or hoping that somebody else isn't already there. You know, we need something for the masses now, because we've got to build stuff for the future, not for the today. So it's great that we've got 10,000 locations around the UK for charging, but when you drill it down, there's only a few hundred, if that, ultra rapid chargers, and it's just not enough. You know, it's not going to be enough for the experience that we all come to expect from a petrol or diesel vehicle when we're moving around. You know, it's got to be somewhere near that. And I mean, let's be honest, within 15 years, we're all driving EVs, whether we like it or not. So, you know, and there will be a need to charge them at home and at work, of course, and we're going to help people do that as well. But we recognise that the forecourt is not the be-all and end-all. People are going to charge at home, they're going to charge at work, they're going to charge in other places, and we'll help with that too. Yeah. But you still need that infrastructure like we do today to fulfill the needs of an increasing increasing number of electric vehicle drivers. Tesla have led the way, but even they, you know, with the Model 3, as we all know, has been so successful. You know, the queuing is going to start happening. You know, and nobody wants that, so we've got to find another solution.
No, I've now only experienced it once at Oxford Services, which has, I don't know what, 12 or 14 Tesla chargers. I've arrived there once and they were all in use, and that was such a shock because that had never happened. It's only happened once so far, but that was a real, you know, that it's possible that there's that many cars. But the other thing that I think is really exciting and an important aspect of what you're doing with these charging things is that, you know, if you think of, I mean, the ridiculous example of, say, 20 Porsche Taycans. It's the Porsche Owners Club out for a Sunday drive, and they all stop and they're all nearly empty and they all plug in and they can all charge at 350 kilowatts or whatever it is, 300, 250. That is like a town, isn't it? I mean, that is like a massive chunk of electricity. But there are, so correct me if I'm wrong, but please explain how that works. But my understanding is there are batteries on site. You mentioned earlier on that's the buffer between the chargers and the grid, as it were. You're not suddenly making these massive demands directly to the grid. Is that have I got that about right?
Yes, you do. Because in order to charge that, 10 Taycans at the same time, or Taycans, you need an awful lot of power to do that, and we will be able to do that by virtue of a 5 megawatt battery, which is on site, so that we'll be able to charge at least 12 vehicles between 175 to 350 kilowatts simultaneously. Another 12 that will be able to charge from 90 to 180 kilowatts. All 24 will have CCS connectors. At least 12 of them will have CHAdeMO connectors. So there is something there for everybody, and the important thing is that we will all be able to use it at the same time, and not. There, as you know as well as I, there is planning you have to do when you drive an electric vehicle. You have to bake in your extra 20 minutes, half an hour here or there, in order to charge somewhere. But there are these risks that somebody else is using it, or that it's not working. In which case, it's probably an hour trip extra because you've got to go somewhere else. We've got to get rid of all of that. It's got to be simple. It's got to be simple. It's got to be reliable, and you've got to know when you turn up, you're going to be able to put more energy in your vehicle, in the same way as we do with the petrol station now. You very rarely have to wait, and we need to make sure that's the same thing now.
Yeah. But I mean, that's it. So that's the other aspect of the battery then. So when you're plugged in and the power is presumably coming, even if it's however it works, it's coming through the battery. So you're taking that energy from the big battery. But then you can charge that battery with the solar. I mean, in the summer, you're going to be putting a huge amount of energy in a day into that battery from the solar. I mean, 20 kilowatt. Is it how many kilowatt solar?
It's a 200 kilowatt solar array on the roof.
200 kilowatt.
But what's perhaps a little bit more significant is the solar farms that GridServe are also building, which I don't know if you're aware of. But we actually we had a look last week, and on one day we managed to generate 225,000 kilowatt hours of energy in the solar farm up in York in the north of England, which is enough to drive 900,000 miles in an EV. Or you could go to Land's End to John O'Groats 1,000 times on that, and that's just one day's worth of energy. So that energy will sleeve into the grid, and that's part of the energy we will take out from somewhere else. So there is an element of generation on site, but the solar farms we're building elsewhere is where the big tickets are.
But also, it makes huge economic sense for a company like GridServe. You're producing you're producing your own oil at very minimal cost, refining it and delivering it to a customer for so little. I mean, that's the amazing thing about that. But then, so just to clarify, so you've got to let a guy dream. I'm driving in, and there's the GridServe. The first time, and I drive in, I find a little space, I pull up, I get the thing, I plug it in. How do I pay for it then? What's the how do I pay for the?
Again,
is it easy?
Yeah, again, we've got to make it easy, right? So there'll be a number of different ways of doing that. There will be a simple pay-as-you-go contactless solution, like anywhere else for anything else, any other product anywhere. We need to be able to provide that simple way of doing it. So there's route number one. Route number two will be a membership or subscription of some sort. You will either have an RFID card, or you'll have an app, or one of those. Again, pretty standard stuff that everybody will have, and so will we. So depending on your membership, if you have one, then there will be different rates at the pump, but that's just the wrong word to be using, at the charge point. And then obviously in the future as well, as the vehicles and we get better with the technology, something you're now very familiar with your Tesla is the MAC address, and the ability to communicate with the vehicle and the charger so that you don't have to do anything at all. And that will also happen. So effectively, I suppose there's three different ways. You got your pay as you go, some sort of membership with your fob or your app, and then going forward the same thing, but with just nothing at all. Just plug in and walk away, and
you plug in and it starts charging.
And there'll be reservations and non-reservations, and we got to make it easy, but we've also got to make sure that there's a means by which to charge effectively and swiftly for everybody. It's important that it becomes something which is seamless, so that we haven't got this negative, which you've come across as many times as I have, people saying, it's not going to work, or it takes too long, or it's not practical, and all that nonsense. We've got to get rid of all of that, make it nice and easy for everybody.
It is really, I mean, your career is so fascinating, how that's jumped, for what you've developed over that period of time and stuck with it. Because I mean, I think I just know of people who try to set things. I just know how hard it is. You try and set something up and you really work hard, and then it doesn't quite work, and you've stuck at it with Newt. It's amazing that you've, done that for 10 years. You've built up this very, very successful business It is an amazing achievement, Sam.
Oh,
you should
thank
be very
you.
proud
Brute
of
force
that.
and ignorance, mostly, to be honest. But
I mean, it is, isn't it? It is, and I think people say, "Oh, you're clever to know that." No, I honestly think you need an element of genuine stupidity to not realise that what you're doing is daft, and you keep doing it, and then eventually it might come to fruition. But that's brilliant. Thanks so much, Sam, and we'll definitely be catching up with you as soon as we can. What would be brilliant is to be chatting with you as my car is charging on a GridServe forecourt. Yeah. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Sam. Well, that's all we've got time for. I really want to thank Sam for spending time with us today. It's been absolutely brilliant learning what he's been up to, what he has achieved and what he's going to achieve. Clearly great things. Really looking forward to going to visit GridServe, obviously. And that's all. Brilliant. As always, if you have been, thank you for watching.